Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Summons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today I'm very excited to be joined by Ariel Hennig, founder of Parlay Coaching. Ariel works with leaders and professionals to help them communicate more effectively, navigate difficult conversations, and build stronger, more aligned teams. Her work focuses on something that impacts every business: how we communicate, and how improving that can transform both leaders and performance. Ariel, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much, Olivia. I'm happy to be here.
Well, pleasure to have you here, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Ariel, with all of my guests, I do like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you were doing before you started up Parlay Coaching, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
So my journey as an entrepreneur started unexpectedly as I was laid off from a position that I held as an HR professional about 5 or 6 years ago. And that sort of moment in time led me to reassess what I wanted to do with my own career. And it's an interesting, I guess, thing that took place because it's exactly the moment in time usually where I meet my clients at is they're either terminated from their employment or they've lost their job or they've been unemployed for a season or they're just unsatisfied in the work they're doing and they're trying to figure out what they want to do next. When I was at that point, I decided to go back to school, as a lot of us choose to do when we have a new season happening in our lives. And I decided to explore positive psychology and coaching, and that led me on the path of becoming a coach. And my kind of automatic ideal client that I landed on for myself was those that are changing careers or in the midst of career growth, career transformation, all of those things, because my previous background was in HR, as I said. So after being on the one side of the table let's call it an internal role where I was helping people do their career pathing in an internal way within a company. Now I like to say I'm on the other side of the table where I'm helping people figure out their career outside of the company, and then ideally matching them or helping them find their ideal work within a healthy, strong organization that's the best fit for them.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, and as you said yourself, like being a HR, you learn so much. That's such a busy department in any company to be in, especially if it's more in that corporate setting as well. It's like non-stop jobs, non-stop roles that you have to cover, and non-stop hats that you're wearing, very similar to an entrepreneur in that aspect. So it's nice that you can obviously, that experience and then obviously guide that into what you're doing now, into that career path. And I suppose the big one that said you was obviously a surprise entrepreneur. So did you ever have a little bit of an inkling that you wanted to be one, or was it part of your journey, or did that just come in like naturally happened as you had to take those next steps for yourself?
Yeah, I think it's funny because as maybe a lot of coaches that go through coaching certifications and experience, they don't necessarily teach you about how to be a business person when you're going through coaching school or certification. So I had I had every desire to become a coach, and I wasn't sure at the beginning if that was going to be an internal position, maybe as like a professional development coach within a larger company or what have you, or if I was going to start my own thing. And I just started doing it. And it led to building a business and coming up with a brand and all the things that come along with that and developing my own practice. I think that there was a moment in time where I was actually doing this exercise with some other individual coaches, and it was like a history of like who are you and like where did you come from, that kind of thing. I think they called it like your genetic history or something. And I
Yeah.
realized that all four of my parents, because they're both my biological parents are remarried, but all four of them are actually entrepreneurs. And it had never crossed my mind that maybe I was destined for this because it's in my DNA, it's in my genes. And I had this moment of, geez, why didn't they tell me that this was what I was going to be doing?
One, why didn't they tell me? One, why didn't they help me sooner? But
Yes.
yeah, I feel if you are surrounded by it, but also I think it takes away the fear if you have seen your parents go through it, and as you say, even your step parents on the other side of that as well. It makes that world a little bit more normal. So even when you are thinking about like the business side of things compared to
Mhm.
the coaching, at least you have some experience or some people that can navigate your way through it because it can be difficult and lonely if you don't know what you're doing.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
nice that you have a little bit of support network around you
Mhm.
and that naturally was born to be in that seat. So
Mhm.
on that
Yeah.
journey moving forward. Ariel, let's dive into parlay coaching a little bit more, just so the listeners can have some context moving forward. At this point who would you say is your ideal client? Who is it that you very much love to work with the most? And then from there, how is you help them? And how would you support them along their own journey?
Yeah, great question. Of course, your kind of ideal client sometimes evolves as you build a practice or as you figure out who you can best serve and where you get the most fulfillment and where you have the most success. But my clients have always been pivoting professionals, really people that are in the midst of their career that are changing direction. That's sort of who I help. And so that could be someone who's unemployed, been laid off, changing paths, deciding to get newly certified in a different direction, or seeing changes in their industry maybe that's causing them to rethink their career choice. At any of those sort of inflection points is when I usually step in and help them to navigate that transformation or that transition into a new career path.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And so what is it like to work with you then? So like in terms of like your style or your approach when you are with your clients?
Yeah, I think I bring a unique blend of a kind of tech forward AI approach to both the coaching and the job search space, as well as that positive psychology informed coaching approach, which is really about curiosity and courage and collaboration and strong communication, as well as that mindset support that a lot of people need. I don't just do job search, I really try to get people into a different place, like moving them
Yeah.
from A to B in terms of their mindset, their how they think about themselves, their strengths, their impact, their value proposition, all of those elements that help people be successful in the job search and know who they are and what they want to do in terms of their ideal work. I try to put all those elements in place before we step into the resume and the LinkedIn and all those things that you would typically do. So I think that strong foundation is really what leads to my clients having greater success and having a lot more satisfaction in the transitions that they make as well.
Yeah, I love that. And hopefully satisfaction in their life as well. Because as you say,
Mhm.
half of the time, like I know from myself from previous experience, like I don't actually know what I want in terms of a job or a career or what
Mhm.
that path even looks like. So helping somebody unlock that before they've even gone on that half of the journey is a big asset to have. It's almost like redefining your version of success. What do you actually want to do with your life? And then we can find you
Yeah.
that perfect path moving forward. So you're very hands-on, very accustomed to their approach as well. And as you say, even using like more the theoretical aspect through it. So there's just more kind of substance to your coaching, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
Love that a lot. And one thing I'm very curious to find out, because naturally it is a very busy world at the moment. There's a lot of noise out there. So like how do you go about differentiating yourself from other people within your space? So in terms of like marketing, what is working well for you at the moment in just finding those right people to work with?
Yeah, I think that blended background of coaching, positive psychology, HR, and AI, that sort of intersection of knowledge and approach and experience that I have is somewhat unique. So I try to speak about that in different ways as I'm creating material to put onto LinkedIn or YouTube or what have you. I also talk about my clients' success, and I think their stories kind of share what I do and how it works for people, and it also resonates with people that are maybe in similar situations, and so that is one of the most effective ways to attract people. And then I think it's also about that individualized approach, like you said. So when people say, how can I work with you? I always make sure I ask them, what is it that you're looking for? What do you need? Because I can do many things, but I'm not going to do them if it doesn't make sense for your situation. Making sure that the way that I'm offering my service is relevant to that individual in their situation.
Yeah, beautiful. And I love that. So obviously taking the time to make sure it's a good fit on your side as well. Naturally, yes, for them, but even for you, you don't want to be wasted efforts on both sides if you can't actually help that party achieve that goal, even if they're not ready to make those transformations themselves, because it's very much easier said than done
Mhm.
sometimes as well. So as you say, very much leaning into knowledge, leaning into that psychology key, and I suppose just providing information to people and resonating like that. Which platforms do you find most success on, or would you enjoy using the most?
LinkedIn has been my primary platform for the last 4 or 5 years for creating my own personal brand and advertising. And then I use YouTube and a blog and my website as sort of those assets where people can go and dive deeper and explore who I am and my philosophy and my approach and my knowledge. I
Yeah.
think that's the main platform though of where people are looking for careers, where people are networking, where people are looking for connections. And it's still, I think, one of the best places to be as a career coach is on LinkedIn.
No, literally that, and obviously, so I think LinkedIn obviously started as a career platform. It's obviously had its like moment in the sun, and it's moving through as more of a marketing tool now. But it's nice that you can lean into that aspect, and even YouTube. I think long form video or long form content is very much having its time to shine at the moment with the trust recession everyone keeps talking about we're in. It's nice to resonate with people, and they can build that authority with them, make sure they trust, know, and like you, and then obviously want to work with you at the end of it. There's a lot of power that carries in listening to people's voices for a certain amount of time. I love
Mhm.
the fact you're leaning into that as well. And do you run any form of advertisements or anything, or is it just very organic on your output?
I haven't done advertising. I have worked on SEO, which I
Okay, cool.
think was, I guess, maybe similar in some ways, but unpaid. So I think SEO is definitely a critical element in being findable, let's say, online. And it's tricky because there's a lot of coaches and a lot of whatever space you're in, there's always a lot of competition, a lot of other business, and you need to be findable, you need to show up in searches. And so being consistent in the language that you use to represent yourself, I think is really key in whatever sort of form of online
Yeah.
advertising or search setup you're creating for yourself. Yeah.
100%. It's the findability is that key. Visibility and findability. I love that word. And
Mhm.
in the sense of, say, SEO, a great way to do that. It's like when you have a shop front, you wouldn't necessarily expect people to walk past and know who you are. It's the same thing. You're just driving more traffic towards yourself. They work in a very consistent way as well. I think ads bring a little bit more consistency than what SEO does, but it's nice just to have that to fall on because sometimes there's a problem with organic. It can be quite volatile as you look to predict what you're doing moving forward.
Mhm.
And are you pretty much a solopreneur as well? Or do you have a team that are helping you out cover some of those hats that naturally come with being a founder?
Yeah, I wear all the hats for sure. I have in the last year had a marketing person that's a an apprentice who actually they're on a rotation. It's through an organization I really called Acadium. And so they assign, or you can select, I guess, through the interview process, an apprentice to work with you from a marketing perspective. And so that's been really great because it's giving a student sort of experience in asset development like YouTube videos and LinkedIn posts and blogs
Yeah.
and that sort of thing where they're helping support, but they also get to gain that exposure into sort of all the marketing operations of a small business and be able to support a founder directly. So yeah, I'm a solopreneur, but I do have that sort of contractual marketing support that I find really valuable.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a big hat for a lot of founders, especially if you add the content creation side of it as well. It just drains so much of your time. So I
Mm.
think that's a really nice approach, as you say, to if you are a solopreneur, a coach, whatever it may be, having that little bit of extra support in the form of an apprentice or even an intern. It's nice that you are, as you say, providing them with that real world experience, but also getting some support on your end as well, just helping smooth that ship as you move forward. And I suppose with all that being said, like, what are your visions or ambitions for the company moving forward when you maybe think of the next like 6 to 12 months ahead? What are those goals or those milestones that you're working hard towards at the moment?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because I think every founder probably goes through different stages of the journey, figuring out first who are you and what do you want to offer and who are you serving and what is your niche and all of these big questions that we have to solve and figure out. And then this last year, I've really been focused on the question of do I want to scale? Because I think that's a really big question that solopreneurs face. And it's do I want to try and hit the $1 million mark? Do I want to build a team? Do I want to replicate myself either with people or AI or what have you? And I've interestingly enough decided that I don't actually want to scale. I really value the one-on-one relationships that I have with my clients. I value that personalized journey, that high impact, direct impact that I have. And my goals are not so much about scaling my business in terms of numbers or revenue or hiring. It's really about scaling my impact and the number of clients that I can support one-on-one. So
Yeah.
for me that looks more outplacement work, more contract work, working with other agencies to build onto their capacity and being a contractor, if you will,
Yeah.
that's available to take on overflow work and support. So I've really decided to stay focused on the one-on-one and not to scale in that sort of traditional sense of the word, but really to focus on scaling my impact.
Yeah, so you were going for depth rather than broad. And I think, as you say, it's just the nuances of what, again, what I said at the start, defining your version of success as a business
Mm-hmm.
owner. That's one of the main things you have to do. You want to make sure that business suits the life you want as well. It's amazing, as you say, working closely with your clients. And even it sounds like building partnerships in what you're saying. So you can be relied on when other people need referrals or moving forward with other companies where you can help out best. And that impact is going to be the same. So it's nice that you're providing that for yourself. And where are you probably finding the biggest challenge for yourself at the moment within the business area?
Oh, I think there's so many things you can focus on when you're building a business. It's really hard to stay focused sometimes on where you can actually move the needle. It's fun to create, it's fun to develop. Like this past year, I created an online course that took months and investment and then it didn't really go anywhere. Nobody really wanted it. By the time I was done with it, I didn't have a way to really market it and get it out there. And I think one of the biggest challenges we face is yeah, you can spend so much time creating and not actually delivering. And I think that's an error that a lot of times we fall into as founders is building things, building systems, programs, documents, marketing funnels, leads, content, all of this stuff. But if you don't have the client inflow, if you're not getting those consistent client leads and you're not able to make the time for delivery, then you have an issue, right? I always make time for my clients. I don't mean delivery on that side. I just mean delivery on actual billable hours, if you want to call it that, right? So what is actually going to move the needle? And I think I've learned over the last couple of years how to focus my time. And that's one of the reasons I brought in a marketing person, was because I didn't want to spend 50% of my time creating marketing content. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to be a coach. So may as well pay someone to do that and really put my value where my skills lie the strongest and spend my time with my clients.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the unfortunate thing with coaching. You are trading your time for money. So it is just deciding where that time lies best. And I feel like with what you're saying about the courses, you get suffered from like shiny object syndrome. You're like, oh, they've got a course, maybe I should set one up. Oh, they're doing that kind of funnel, maybe I should do it too. And it's just like flipping from one idea to the other. But naturally, without that kind of like bubble or that shelter that you get within more of a job role, you do have that freedom to be creative. So it's just reining in that creativity a little bit, and sticking to your guns sometimes is the best option. Don't need so much fluff going on. If that one part is doing well, hone in
Mhm.
on that and run for it. Yeah. It's definitely that like magpie flying across the window that you really want to attract as well. And Ariel, as one final question to you before we log out, if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing that I say to my clients, is make sure that all your career decisions are really values aligned for you. And I think a lot of people forget what that means, or maybe we've moved away from the language of values in our society a little bit when it comes to career. We think of values as being more like home or family or those things, but the core values that you hold is really like simple. It's just what's really important to you and who, like, what is at the core of who you are. So for me, things like flexibility, stability, those are core values that I hold. And so my career decisions need to align with that for myself and how I'm building a business or how I'm operating as a solopreneur. And I think if you do that, and if you can stay aligned to your core values and what's really important to you, you will have success and find success. And as you said, in the way that's meaningful to you. If you depart from that, then you risk being either unsatisfied or unsuccessful, because a lot of times our strengths and our values are actually very closely aligned. And when we can recognize, that's when we can operate at our most effective and have
Yeah,
the most impact in what we do.
I couldn't agree more. And as you say, you're not aligning yourself with your values or who you are, you end up diluting everything else. So it is
Mhm.
just sticking to that and moving forward. And Ariel, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with
Thanks.
us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great place to find me. Also, YouTube, just under my name, Ariel Hennig Wood. You can search my YouTube channel or my LinkedIn and connect with me there.
Beautiful stuff. And Ariel, thank you again. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Ariel Higginwood, as she just said. Drop her a message on LinkedIn, check out the YouTube. I'm sure she'd love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from zero to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing, and we'll see you on the next one.